So, let me tell you something that you should have already realized by now about this fucking show you're listening to. This shit is supposed to be for mature audiences, as in grown-ups, mentally mature. It's supposed to talk about adult subjects, an adult frame of mind. It's not fucking that at all. This is two emotionally regressed, broken half-wits pretending to offer insight on movies. All they really offer you is an endless sexual perversion and a laundry list of personal paraphilia issues. You can make your own choices in life, but you have to choose this as entertainment. You know you're better than this. You have to know you are better than listening to Cinema Psyops.
Psychologists are very concerned. Fair warning, though, there is some graphic violence in this, but we say that for you, not your kids. They've probably already seen it.
You have to know you are better than listening to Cinema Psyops.
I like gore. I love blood and guts and stuff, you know. It turns me on, you know, ever since I was a little kid. I love the feeling of being scared, you know.
Kids call them slasher or splatter movies, and they get together to watch them at gross out parties. The movies are extremely violent, sexually provocative, and have graphic displays of mutilation.
I see them with my friends, and we see who can keep their eyes open the longest.
Slumber Party Massacre. That was a classic. This guy just goes around killing people. That's the plot of all scary movies.
CIAEMA! PSYOBS! CIAEMA! PSYOBS!
You have to know you are better than listening to Cinema Psyops.
Kids get the movies from the horror section. Most of the violent movies are rated R and aren't supposed to be seen unless you're 17 years old. Others are made directly on videotape and bypass the rating system altogether.
CIAEMA! PSYOBS! CIAEMA! PSYOBS! CIAEMA! PSYOBS!
Welcome to the 363rd episode of Cinema Psyops. That represents 363 consecutive weeks that we've been doing this show, despite the pain, suffering, and horrible things that we go through to still make sure that we stay alive to be able to produce this show for you. One of the people getting stomped on the nuts by his life is my co-host, Matt.
Yeah. Life stomped on the nutsack is just about right.
And I could have made that gender neutral, but you're a he/him, so saying that it's stomping on your nuts is totally fine.
Yeah, I am. I do identify as he/him. And he/him is getting his he/him nuts stomped into the fucking ground.
Well, the way things are going out there, I think everyone is going to get the foot to genitals grinding treatment very shortly.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong at all. Whew.
Yeah.
Anywho, how's it going, everyone? Hope everyone's doing all right.
Yeah, and remember, while this may be the hottest summer you've ever experienced, it's now the coolest summer of the rest of your life.
Yeah, right. It's the hottest summer of your life so far.
Oh man, I'm already trying to make plans. I'm already trying to change some things around in my life, and I've been job hunting. I've been trying to increase my income, and I'm trying to do it in such a way as to be able to afford to move the fuck out of this godforsaken land and move further north, because if it's just going to get hotter, I'm going to move further and further north.
Yeah, I've also, I had to take a second job, and just because life, and woo, I ended last night with because of my primary job and big things I had to do, and then my second job. Between all of it, last night before I went to bed, I ended up with 35,000 steps.
Wow, you must be sore and tired as shit.
Yeah, I'm just dead. I'm numb at this point. There's no pain anymore. I'm just numb.
Yeah, I got nothing on you. My step increase had gone exponentially. I'm not much for walking around because I'm a coder. I shouldn't have to.
Yeah, right.
But my step count whenever Bev got injured doubled and tripled, and I'm at the point where they're like, oh yeah, you need to try and squeeze in like 10,000 steps a day. And I was like surpassing that pretty easy, and you're tripling it. So there we go.
Yeah. Anytime I work my second job, which is about 4 nights a week, I'm always coming home with at least 20,000 steps. So, and just yesterday, I also had a ton of projects I had to complete. So at my full-time job, which caused me to walk around a lot. So yeah, it's just pain.
On the plus side, you're going to become a new slimmer at PsyOps. You're going to get.
I've already lost 5 pounds doing all this, so
right.
I don't eat a lot anymore. I don't have time, and just fuck.
Well, maybe it'll help out with your health, but then again, at the same time, you're doing warehouse work, so it's probably going to wreck your back and your knees at the same time.
Oh yeah, it's my whole entire body's just going to be wrecked. I'm going to lose weight, but I'm also going to, kill my body doing it.
You're going to lose the will to live and make it to where you can't walk any steps later. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Oh, brother. I'll tell you what, man. Things are just not looking good for everybody, including the folks in the movie tonight, Ju-on the Final Curse. I said I was hoping they would continue on, and they do. Whether or not I find pleasure in what they continue on with and what they did here, I guess we'll find out when we actually do the review. But this is the final Ju-on film, and I wanted to propose this to you on the air, so I kind of had you on the spot, right? I think before we actually do the review of Kyoko versus Sadako, or Sadako versus Kyoko, I forget which way they phrase it. Kyoko's now number 1 in my heart. I'm just going to fucking say that, all right?
Kyoko beats out Sadako, huh?
Yeah, for me, definitely. After watching these last 2 of the films, just the series in general, I find so much more joy. And I remembered it being that way, and I think I alluded to that when we started this exercise. And now that we're here at the end of both initial series before they're paired up, I can honestly say that, Kyoko's story, or the Grudge series, definitely wins out for me in The Ring. Now, when The Ring hits, and hits hard, it is devastating, absolutely. But there are way more misses in that series than hits. And
that's true.
The thing about the Ju-on series that works so well for me is it is consistently kicking you in the fucking teeth. It is stomping on your fucking genitals and telling you better fucking like this. Because it's brutal. And it doesn't let up, man. It just keeps building on what it establishes. I mean, it
really does. I mean, and even when it redos, it's all right.
Yeah, and okay, so the reason that I'm mentioning this is because I think I want to do a comparison. Like, we sort of did a list of, what we thought we liked best and least of the Ring series. So I want to do the same with the Ju-on series, but I want to wait until we get to Sadako versus Kyoko, because that way we can just do this review, focus on that, and then we'll rank the movies as we go, or basically just compare and contrast. And I think we could almost go head to head for like what installment number we're in the franchise as to evidence as to why the one beats out the other for me. But I want to save that for next week,
Right.
Because that's the verses. That makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yes. Sadako versus Kyoko.
Right. So I just wanted to tease that a little bit, just a little edging for the audience that's what we're going to kind of do next week. And it kind of gives us some pablum to talk about other than about how miserable we currently are. And that way I don't have to complain about the horrible headache I have and the abscessed tooth that I'm dealing with.
Oh, yeah. Gee, I've had that before, dude. Dude, you're going through your own sense of hell right now.
Yeah. Long story short, too late. at the worst of this, like when it was like before I started getting the antibiotic treatment and before I was like doing anything about it, I took a skills assessment test for a job interview that I was working on, or like a job candidacy that I'm working towards. Anybody that knows coding knows that you have like 7 interviews sometimes before they actually like really decide on you or not. Like they really kind of string you along with some of these companies. It just kind of depends. Well, one of the things that they do is they have you do like a online skills assessment or a skills assessment of some sort that is very strict, where it's almost like whiteboard, but you have to type it into their like shitty IDW, integrated development workspace.
Yeah.
You have to do it there. Well, I did this with this horrible throbbing pain in my jaw and my head from the infection from this abscessed tooth. I took this test for one of these companies and I fucking aced it. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I just found out yesterday that I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Yeah. No, when I say I aced it, I mean I got past it. And I usually fucking tank on those because like the way that I work is I'm so used to being in a certain environment for developing code. And if I'm not in that environment, my brain's kind of like, now how do I do that?
Yeah, no, I hate skills assessment tests. Yeah, because I can know how to do something, but I still fuck up.
Yeah, and for a lot of us, which is really weird, the skills assessment stuff, just to kind of pull back the curtain on the type of work that Matt and I both do, but like a lot of folks that get into these types of jobs, some of us have ADHD and we hyperfixate on it like Matt, and that's how we learn the stuff that we learn. That's why Matt's so good at what he does. He hyperfixated on the things that he could do with his type of networking and computer maintenance and stuff like that. I don't know specifically what you do, but I know that's what you used to do.
It's pretty much what you just said.
Yeah. And then for me, for coding, I basically weaponized my anxiety and my love of language, and that's how I became a coder. But when you give skills assessments, the skills assessments are geared towards normal thinking people. And that's not the kind of people that get attracted to the type of work that these skills assessments are designed for. So many of us have issues with them and have to really overcome them to be able to do them. And they're really, really weird. And some of them are really bad where they'll just have you like, and in the old days, you'd go up to a whiteboard in a job interview without any help. And you would try and write code off the top of your head and just basically have to have stuff memorized because they wanted to see how you would approach it. It's an act of fucking cruelty that some of these companies do. It really, really is.
They hate us.
Right. Well, what it is they resent how much they have to pay people in this kind of IT setting.
Yeah. Companies hate having to have IT. They hate that the fact that technology took over so much as it did, and they hate that they have to pay people to do it because their company's favorite thing to say is IT doesn't make money, it only costs us money. But too damn bad you need it to do any sort of business anywhere in this planet.
And the reason that it costs you so much money is you treat the people who do IT so badly, and yet you need them so desperately that the only way to keep them is to give them an exorbitant salary so that you can beat them up and treat them like shit. And that's what you suffer when you're in the IT world of any sort, whether you're a coder or you're computer maintenance and networking, systems, that kind of thing. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. And in Matt's case, he's still not getting paid enough to be able to make his ends meet in the IT sector. That's how fucked America is, by the way, everybody. And I was trying to avoid all this, but we dipped right back into it, even though we were talking about Ju-on, the final curse, which we should probably just do.
Let's get on with our final curse.
All right, and with that, we're going to play the special intro from our new owner and proprietor, Kevin. We'll have the Legion Patreon ad, and then right after that, Matt, not only did I find, once again, bands that I've already used, but it's all female lineup bands, and it's all stuff that fucking rocks. I went back to the well, and I picked out some of my favorite bands that we've already experienced for this episode to celebrate the final Ju-on episode. And right after the Legion Patreon ad, we're going to have Destros with the song Prologue. Here we go.
Hey everyone, this is Kevin. As many of you probably have heard, Bo will be heading back to school to become a teacher. Congratulations, Bo. As such, I'll be taking over the reins, managing and spreading the good word of Legion Podcast. To kickstart things off, as an added thank you for patrons in June, Legion plans to have Steam Code giveaways for current Patreon backers. A random person will be picked from the Patreon every other week or twice per month, and the winners can choose from the available Steam codes. Thank you so much for supporting Legion Podcast. You can reach me on Twitter or the Legion Discord group. My username is @LonelyBob. See you around.
This'll keep it quiet. Oh, hi there. I didn't see you. You caught me cutting a new show. I'm Bo Ransdell, and I'm one of the many creators you can find on Legion Podcasts. I said quiet! My fellow podcasters and I work hard to bring you the best in horror podcasting, but that comes at a cost.
What's that like to live deliciously?
Not that, but also yes. No, what I'm getting at is that there are server costs, costs for good microphones and software for editing, all the things that make our shows, fun to listen to. And you can help. If you're enjoying the shows on legionpodcasts.com or in the Legion Network available on iTunes and Stitcher, just about anywhere you can download a podcast, really, you can help us out and get a little something for your trouble at patreon.com/Legion Podcasts. For just $2 a month, you get a pair of movie commentaries exclusive to Patreon, and for $5, you can also join us for a monthly screening of a movie. All of that available on patreon.com/Legion Podcasts. We appreciate it, and thank you for listening. Now, back to the cutting room.
I'm glad I brought Destros back on the show for this. That was a fucking kick-ass song, was it not?
Yeah, that was awesome. That was good stuff.
And people can still hear it playing underneath us on the Pirate Radio edit. If you're not on the Pirate Radio edit, you're just listening to the main feed, and literally you're listening to some song that I have played probably 4 or 5 times already on this show, because I'm really tired of trying to ask for more royalty-free stuff.
Yeah, right?
I'm just going back to the well on that as well. And it's not a disrespect for this movie in any way, shape, or form, although we'll really find out what I feel about it once Matt starts his review right now.
All right, Ju-on, the final curse. So, we get a flashback to Yui in the last movie and everything that happened in it. Then we see a man standing outside of the house. He's chaining a gate shut around it, putting a do not enter sign, and he says if he destroys the house, he can stop the curse.
I think that's the realtor guy that bought it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's not this.
The realtor guy who lost his wife and sister-in-law.
I don't know if it's the same actor or not, because there's a lot of people that didn't really recognize, but that's who it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, then we cut to our first story, Mai. We see a young woman, Mai. She's sleeping, and she then sees Yui standing at the foot of her bed, who turns out to be her younger sister. She follows her, and Yui we see is drawing a circle, the sphere thing, and then Mai sees Toshio's hand and his face. She says, who's the mother of that child? And Yui says that she is. And then all of a sudden Mai wakes up with her boyfriend in bed. Later on, Mai is, she works at a hotel, like a really nice one. And while delivering some food, she gets a call from Yui, but she ignores it. Then she looks down at the soup she was delivering and she sees Toshio's face. Later on, she gets a call from somebody and, they have not heard from Yui. So Yui has gone missing. Then we cut to her boyfriend. He works at a train station. As he is kind of walking up and down the station, he goes to pick up some newspaper off the floor and a hand grabs him, but then lets him go. He gets home that night and she says she got a voicemail from Yui who no one has seen. When she plays it, it's the death rattle And that is the end of that first story.
It's important to note that for some reason, her hubby, Beau, whoever it is that she's living with there, her significant other, let's just phrase it that way.
Yeah.
He freaks the fuck out when he hears that death rattle, like he recognizes it or something.
Yeah, I think it's just finally maybe somebody who's smart in a horror movie who goes, well, that's not a normal human sound. We should probably be worried about that.
Well, and the other thing is I'm wondering if maybe he recognizes the sound of someone trying to breathe through a crushed throat, and that's why it's freaking him out, because we see what
he also did get grabbed when trying to throw away newspapers, so he could just be on edge from that.
Right. A very interesting thing here where even before people come looking for what happened to their lost loved ones, this film changes it up just a little bit and says that your loved ones basically get used for the curse to come for you next. Like the spirits of people that whoever the spirits of the people that have been taken by the curse now uses them like we suspected earlier in the series. The curse is now using them for sure to start coming after their loved ones. So it is now actively hunting people. This version that started with Toshio is actively hunting people and is an intelligent spirit, very much like Sadako.
Yeah.
And this is
I guess so.
Really cruel version of it too. This is probably the meanest one we've seen so far because it's torturing people before they even know why.
Yeah. Oof. Terrible.
And we can move on. I just wanted to point that out.
Then the next story is Rio. Rio and her friends and her friend they're walking home from school and they're talking about how her cousin, they keep calling her a brother, but then she's like, it's more like a cousin is coming to live with them.
Basically the mom's going to adopt the child as if he is her own and calling him son and brother. And they're just going to ignore the fact that he's a cousin. Yeah.
And then they talk more about like both have suffered tragedy from Rio's father dying to her friend who she's walking with, sister going missing. Then we see the mom picking up the boy, and she brings him home. And we see a door closing, and you think you see something real quick. We'll get confirmation later that you definitely fucking saw something. Well, we cut back to Mai, and she gets Yui's belongings, and she starts going through the stuff, and it's a lot of her school stuff. And she sees a report about Toshio, and then she sees like some spirals being drawn. And then she sees Kyoko in the reflection in the glass of the table, and she hops away. Cut back to Rio, and she's trying to bond with the boy, but he's kind of he doesn't say a word. He just kind of, he's very silent.
That's Toshio.
That we don't know that yet.
It clearly is. It looks like him. Come on.
We don't know that yet.
He has the same fucking bullshit haircut that Toshio does.
You don't know shit. You haven't seen anything. God damn it. We don't work in assumptions in this show. We work with facts.
Why else wouldn't they show his face? That's Toshio.
Yeah, you're a son of a bitch.
Okay, we can move on.
Anyway, she talks to her mom to find out that the boy's mother has died.
Yeah, Toshio's mom. We saw that.
God damn it. We don't know if it's Toshio. It's a boy.
All right, I'll stop for now. Fine.
Later on, she goes to the parade to the altar of her deceased father, and we see black stuff starts coming out, hair out of the ceiling, the walls. She turns, and it's gone. She gets up and walks away, but the rice that is left at the dad's altar turns to mold, and that's the end of that story.
It's not just hair that comes out. At a certain point, you can actually see Kyoko's face.
Oh, do you? See, yeah. I missed that. I didn't see that.
It's real brief, and it's right before she turns, so it's just like a quick jump. And then that's when you see the rice that rots. Did you recognize the photo of her would-be father who died? Because it seems like he was someone that was in the last movie that was investigating something that was going on, too.
I did not recognize him, but I wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, it would make sense because somehow their family is linked to this tragedy, and we don't know yet, even though it's obvious that it's Toshio that is their cousin.
No, because we don't know if it's Toshio.
They're not showing it, but come on, man. Like, the movie's really driving home the point to me.
It's a boy. You're being a son of a bitch right now. You're being really mean.
Okay, fine.
You're assuming things.
Okay, we can just move on then. I just wanted to point out that a boy who looks an awful lot like Toshio has now entered their life. His mother has apparently died. The father is nowhere to be seen. And we're not exactly sure how this auntie who's taking care of him is related to his family. Because they're being really, really, really vague about all of this. But it has something to do with the uncle. So the uncle who is not necessarily wanting the boy, although the uncle is apparently just disappeared, they don't even know. But the mother's definitely dead. We know the mother is dead.
Yeah, but it looks like I'll take that. That's fine.
Yeah, it's enough to where you could draw an inference and begin your investigation about it.
Yeah. All right. See, now looks like I'll take that all day long. I'm not.
You just don't want me to make
any more of your shit.
You just don't want me to do the declarative, definitive statement that it is in fact Toshio. Yes.
Yeah. See, I'm just trying to get everyone on the same page.
We want this. Well, the film is doing this clearly to build up suspense and to make you be like, you as the viewer is like, oh fuck, that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they just don't want you to just fully believe that it is, because then it spoils the surprise and it kind of ruins the fun of the movie.
Yeah, right.
We can move on now.
All right, Jesus Christ. The next story is Enna. A young girl is in a hospital. Her name's Enna, and she looks out the window into Rio's house. She sees Rio, like, people walking around. She's using her cell phone to record, and she sees Ghost Toshio walking around. Ghost Toshio. Then we cut to Mai is serving a couple for the wife's birthday in a hotel room. And as they're singing happy birthday and she's walking away, everything goes silent. She turns around and she sees Yui. And as she tries to talk to her, the room goes normal again with the couple there singing, and she leaves very quickly. Later on, her boyfriend gets home and sees her staring at this book. And she's just kind of staring at it, and he tells her to go ahead and take a shower. He starts reading. It's Kyoko's diary, and for some reason it really bothers him, because all she, it goes into all that crazy of she's just wanting a baby inside of her.
They change it in this movie. I don't know if the interpretation of it is different than, it might just be because the subtitles in this one, this version that we got was a direct translation. The last movie had different subtitles that were more anglicized and made more sense of the translations. So in that one, it said child, child, child for those translations that we saw. This one, she keeps saying children, 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 which makes sense. In the last movie, the house was huge. She would want a huge house if she wants lots of kids, so she could fit them all in there.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
So, I'm just going to say that it's probably subtitle trouble in that case where they switched it on us, and I'm not 100% sure. But either way, she wanted at least a child so bad. But in this one, it turns out she wanted children, plural.
Yeah. Well, either way, she wanted a child.
Definitely.
She wanted something.
Yeah, she wanted a child bad enough to allow the spirit of an abused and neglected child that starved to death to enter her body and reincarnate.
Yeah, it seems, it seems crazy when you say it out loud like that.
That's because it is, Matt.
So anyway,
I'm not judging her. I understand, but still, that's kind of insane.
And did she allow this child into her? Because remember, it looked like she was sleeping when Toshio got to her.
We'll find out whether or not she was willing to have this happen later on in this film, so I don't want to answer that.
Oh, we do? Because I missed that part then. Good. You can catch me up.
Oh, cool.
Well, we see Maya in the shower, and we get the hand in the hair gig that, has become somewhat famous with The Grudge, especially in the United States. And she freaks out.
That was hilarious because I was lamenting how we didn't get it this time around, but it's because Kyoko wasn't really developed into the movie until later on, so we didn't get those moments that we get here.
Yeah, right.
While I was watching the movie and then they did the hair bit, I was like, oh, see, I was complaining last time that we didn't get it, and now they answered it by doing it here.
Yeah, right? That's nice of them.
Yeah, I appreciate that movie.
To Rio trying to sleep, a closet door keeps opening, and then all of a sudden she sees Kyoko crawling out of it, and she hides, looks, but then gone. And that's the end of that story. So things are starting to ramp up a little bit.
So do you think because the human version of Toshio is what you're saying is suspected and what I'm saying is definitely been brought into their house, that the spirit of Kyoko is latched on to him and basically getting revenge on this family for taking him? Is that what they're kind of setting up here, do you think?
I think so, yeah.
That's what I kind of was wondering if they were setting up as well. Her spirit clearly would be very angry about her child being taken from her or not being around for her. But also considering what happened to her and what she gave up for this child, it could just be that that's her vengeance anyway. For anyone that makes a sacrifice to take care of the child, she comes for them too.
Yeah. I mean, it could just be a way to transfer all the shit, so.
Yeah, and I mean, we've already established that even the human version of Toshio, when he shows up places, affects the environment and nasty things happen, and the curse is still working on people. He's still driving people crazy. He's still ruining lives. So when you're saying that you're just suspecting, or we're supposed to be suspecting, and I'm saying he definitely is Toshio, that's pretty much what's going on. The mother's getting purchased because the avatar version of him is here.
Yeah. Yeah. So, however, he rolls with all that shit, which we find out more later.
Yeah, the supernatural shit is real heavy on this one. It's not just
Yeah.
like ghosts and hauntings. It's reincarnations, it's bodily possessions, and just all sorts of shit going on in this one, man.
Yeah, they really rolled the dice for the final curse here.
Yeah, they amped it up hardcore. Some of it works for me
Yeah.
and some of it doesn't.
Yeah, right? I'm just like, this one was a harder one to note, too. I missed a lot more, I felt.
Oh, yeah, it's all over the place, too, dude. I backed it up
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 times. I pretty much watched this thing twice to try and understand what was going on.
Yeah. I was just like, what the fuck?
It's dense. It really is.
It really is. So then, okay, so we start the next story, Madoka. Rio and her friends, Madoka and Midori, they're having lunch, and Rio invites them over for a sleepover that night. Rio's mom is at home and finds that all her veggies have gone bad.
Not just gone bad, but like mysteriously rotten in the fridge's crisper. Like,
yeah, right?
Like they've been left out and abandoned with the fridge been shut off for a month rotten.
Yeah. Exactly. So she's going to work and she tells the boy in his room that she's leaving. And as she's telling him through the door, we see someone walking down the hallway. It looks like Ghost Toshio, but she just shrugs it off and leaves. That night, everyone's over, and Reo, as she's going upstairs, she goes to check on the boy, and she sees him in almost like a catatonic state, but then we see Ghost Toshio, and she rushes away and goes to her room. With her friends there, Madako decides to go get some food, and Midori stays behind in the room. And Rio, and she's like, hey, let's meet Toshio. And so Rio agrees to go get Toshio. And while Midori's in the room alone, strange things happen. A picture falls. She goes to pick it up, and it's of her and Rio as their friends. And their faces are all just death.
They look like they're painted up like Toshio and Kyoko are. Yeah.
And they are she freaks out. And then Rio brings in the boy, and yes, it is Toshio. They introduce him. His name is Toshio, and he speaks for the first time. He says hello, and then good night, and that's the end of that story.
So now we know it's definitely Toshio. This is his avatar version that's living there, and that explains everything that's going on with Kyoko haunting them. Now, the friends are marked from something different, but I think the film pretty much implies that them being here in Toshio's presence, the avatar, when he lays eyes on people, or is around people, this avatar version of Toshio, it seems like he is actively killing the people that he meets, because of what happened in the previous film. Somehow the avatar version, the body survived. The husband didn't actually kill him.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like, yeah.
And they kind of retcon that a little bit, and it kind of bugs me.
You're gonna see kind of what happens here in a second.
Right, you do see, but what I'm saying is they retcon it compared to what they showed us in the last
where the husband
film.
didn't kill Toshio.
Yeah, they do retcon that, and you kind of have to get over that, because if you don't, it's going to spoil everything else that's happening in the movie. I feel like they should have just done the thing where Ryo was forced to become his mother, and he wasn't really reborn through her. He just came out full size, and that's actually what killed her.
Yeah.
They should have done something along those lines instead of what they did this time around. But I'm okay with it. I'll let it go, because if I don't, I'm not going to enjoy the rest of the movie.
yeah, you almost kind of have to let all this shit go.
Right. It's just one of the things where I'm like, really, movie? That's kind of a stretch. But then I was like, you know what? You did such a good job in the last film. I'm going to go with you. Let's see what you do.
Yeah, right. All right, let's be nice to him.
Yeah, I'm giving him a chance, and we can move on.
All right. The next story is Toshio, and we see a flashback to Tayoko. He throws the cat in the microwave, turns it on. Then he's going to go kill Toshio, but then we see Toshio leaves his body and becomes Ghost Toshio. So that's why we saw him in the catatonic state earlier. His soul can leave his body. When he did that, the dad's head looked like it was going to be scanners and it was going to explode. But we quickly cut away to the aunt then picking him up and taking him to the house. And this is where I say we did see something, because when the door closes, when the aunt leaves the room, we see Kyoko standing with Toshio.
Yeah, she entered the house with the avatar version of Toshio. And I really like what they did here, where they established things from her perspective where she doesn't know what's going on. And then the things that we suspect when we're looking at the kid, we're like, that's not right, that's not right. And we're like, something's going to happen here, something's going to happen here. They re-show it where we can see it from the perspective of, oh yeah, Toshio brought Kyoko with him. The curse is living in him, and anywhere he goes, he is the anchor point for this curse. It's not a house anymore. it's his physical body that he created. And
Yeah.
you can either get over that and enjoy what they're trying to do with this ride, or you're going to have to bail from here because that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, we cut to Rio is looking for the house Toshio came from. When she comes up to where it should be, it's an empty plot. The dude shows up who lost his wife and sister-in-law, the realtor, and says he has torn it down and will never permit anything to be built on that land again. She kind of freaks and says, I don't know if it's a problem with the translation, but she says Toshio is missing. And that she knew that was his last known place where he lived. So I don't know what any of that was.
Yeah, I think what they were getting at is this film is retconning here for sure, where it's basically the father kills the mother and then disappears. They find the mother's body like we normally do in the house, but other people have died even before that happened. That was the last straw for the realtor. He tears down the house. And so the physical version of Toshio, whether it was reborn somehow through Ryu or just survived by killing the father before he got a chance to kill him, Toshio now is with his aunt, which is the sister of the would-be father who's not really his father. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that guy is dead and disappeared like all the other people in the curse that happens. But the physical version of Toshio basically was able to leave the house because he's a physical version. And apparently he can slip in and out of the body whenever he chooses to enact his version of the ghost curse.
Yeah, the curse left the house where it was because now Toshio got to be born. And so now it just goes wherever he goes.
Right, because he
is the curse.
Right, because he's that physical presence and there's no stopping that, basically.
Yeah. The curse got to leave because there's a physical presence going around.
And so now it's going to be in this new house with the aunt and the cousin sister.
Yeah. Now it's there.
Yeah. And so the people that entered that house, like her friends and everything, and the aunt and the daughter who are living there. And then there's no husband for them, right? Because that's who they're mourning is her father.
Yeah. Her father, that's the adult there, so, yeah.
And her father may have actually been somehow taken by the curse in the previous house.
Could have been. Possibly. We don't know that, though.
Yeah, because, I mean, he could have gone into the house to check on the brother to find out what was happening and then just disappeared.
Yeah. I guess, but...
Because it's around the same time that this tragedy has occurred, because that shrine that they have up, he's still a very much young man that looks like a age appropriate for how old the wife currently is, or the widow is right now, and for the age of the daughter. So I'm thinking that the murder happened with Kyoko. The police found out about it, and, like the investigation and all that was starting to happen for the house, and the brother probably went over there to maybe back some stuff up, or who even knows, and then that's how he ended up disappearing. The film doesn't tell you that directly, but they're heavily implying it, that the father's already been taken by the curse, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying, because we get so bogged down in this, is that the curse got to leave the house because Toshio was born into human form. Now wherever Toshio goes, and whoever he comes in contact with, they get the curse. He kills them.
Yeah, including the hospital, because I think he was actually at the hospital ward that was across the street, too.
Possibly could have been, yeah.
Because there's a child's ward there, so part of it would probably be they would check up on him, and then there would probably be some social services stuff to where he would be housed there temporarily. And it doesn't seem like they have to go very far before he's home.
Yeah, it does not appear that way, no.
And I mean, that the geography is convenient and everything, but it just kind of makes sense in the way that the film's trying to go. And again, this is all stuff that it doesn't really show you. It's just laying this stuff out and implying. And you have to kind of put it together in your head because it's anachronistic. It jumps around in time for all of these little tales. And we can move on. I'm stopping.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting really bogged down now.
Well, there's, like I said, the film's really fucking dense, but it doesn't really bother like explaining any of the stuff that it's showing you. It's just showing a bunch of visual stuff, and you have to either put it together in your head or just be bored.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. So then we see Enya is once again in her hospital room. She's looking into the house there. She sees Toshio, just kind of the body being catatonic, and as she looks at her phone, she sees Toshio just standing there staring at her. She goes to hide in her bed, but then sees Toshio's outline in the curtain. We also can hear him humming. Mai's boyfriend then is walking. He's closing up the train area. He finds a woman standing in the station, and he's going to help lead her out. We see that woman is the human form of Kyoko.
Oh, yeah, totally Kyoko.
And as she's walking behind him, she starts talking about wanting a baby, and he freaks out, turns, and she's gone, and that's the end of that story.
Again, it's all children, and
children.
She transforms as she's walking behind him, and the obsession of the I want children becomes more and more strong as she says those words and becomes more frequent. And that shit was actually the freakiest part of the movie.
Yeah, right? It was like, holy shit, what the fuck was that?
So far. Freakiest part of the movie so far.
So far. All right. The next story is Midori. Later on, it's at lunch at school, and the girls are talking about Toshio and how he's a little weird. And Madoka wants to start searching for more information about Toshio on the web, but Midori says, no, nuh-uh, don't look into this anymore. She's freaked enough, and she walks away. Mainly because Midori's the one who had the weird experience in the house, where Madoka just thinks Toshio is adorable. Well, that night, Midori is singing karaoke, which is something she loves doing. And in Japan, they have private rooms where you sing karaoke in.
They have that here, too, depending upon the karaoke bar. There's actually a karaoke bar in Omaha that's like that.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So anyway, as she gets done singing a song, she looks through her own little journal and finds a picture of her and her sister who has gone missing. Just then, the lights flicker, the screen goes weird. She calls for help, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll be right there to check it out. More things start happening, and then she sees her sister. She runs up to her. Sister disappears. All of a sudden, we see Ghost Boy Toshio, but then sister returns. She's very happy to see her sister. Sister grabs her by the face, and she's like, what are you doing? And then the lady we see from the outside, she looks inside the room, sees Midori just standing there alone, but then all of a sudden her body launches up into the air. Her head impales into the wall, killing her by Midori.
That was pretty fucking creepy, too.
Yeah. Especially because the sister just started laughing, and you're like, oh, man, that's weird.
Do we recognize the sister from something? Like, was she one of the people that disappeared in the last movie? I feel like she was supposed to be. It seems like...
I don't think so.
It seems like all the victims from the previous movie, they're coming for their own family members now, is what I was getting at.
Maybe. I'm not sure, though. Again, we may be looking too much into it. It's possible, but I don't recognize her.
But what this movie's definitely inferring is that that person was a victim of the curse, and now that person's spirit is passing the curse on to her. Or at least...
No, that's not how I viewed it. I viewed it as Toshio just torturing her.
Well, he's using the skin because we definitely know that he will climb into the appearance of someone else to torture them before he kills them, absolutely. But, or Keiko will as well. But what I'm getting at is, I think that person who disappeared, they're implying that they were also a victim of Toshio and the curse at some point, somehow.
It's possible. I didn't quite get that. I just got that her sister was missing. Now that it would be quite a coincidence for all these people to have all this, all these problems in their lives. But I mean, well, get this. But
they do this thing in all the previous versions of the movies or the storyline where the curse spreads out and then it passes on from your spirit to spirit. We already talked about that, and it doesn't seem like Toshio would just use a dead spirit that he had no access to previously. I don't think that at least that his powers extend that way. You know what I mean? It's not like Freddy Krueger where he'll just impersonate somebody just to torture you. I don't think it's like that.
I mean, possibly, but I didn't recognize the sister either, so.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that that's probably what's going on. I just didn't recognize them enough to be able to say 100% definitively. I'm just making assumptions here based on previous evidence that I've just displayed and talked about. So, and we're done. I'm done here. We can move on.
I'm done here. Leaving.
Because you're right, we're making this far too fucking dense.
You're making me think thoughts, and I don't want to have to do that.
Nobody makes me think my own thoughts.
That's right. So then we cut to Madoka. She's at a restaurant eating, and she finds some information on Toshio, and she sends it to Rio. Now, as Rio reads this information Madoka has sent to her, we see Madoka's getting ready to eat some dark noodles, and then it turns into hair. We see an eyeball in there. None of this is stuff Madoka sees, or else she would have flipped. It's just stuff we see. And with the eyeball and the noodles was pretty cool.
Yeah, that shit was actually really creepy. And the time when they bring out that black linguine with the sauce to feed to her, the minute I saw that plate, I'm like, that's turning into hair. That is so turning into fucking hair.
That's the same thing I thought. I'm like, that's so turning into hair.
And her first forkful is like that gross, fresh from the drain style hair that we saw all over the rim.
I know.
Oh
man, just.
And I was like, please don't make me see this actress put a bunch of hair in her mouth without realizing.
I know, right?
Please
don't do this.
Thankfully, they went for the eyeball gag instead, which was so much better and so creepy.
Yeah, right. So then Madoka, and again, all this is mixed in with Rio reading about Toshio and his father. We don't really need to go into that. She just reads about it. It's kind of all the stuff we knew.
Yeah, it's basically set up to establish just how freaked out she's getting and how she realized how doomed her family is at this point and her friends. And they're just building the tension, and they're trying to build the tension of this one friend that's about to be taken at the same time. But it's all information we already have, and we've actually kind of seen how Toshio survived earlier in the film, so we don't need to rehash it.
Yeah. So then she hears a meow coming from underneath the table. She looks under there and she sees a cat. So she gets up, she goes, what the hell? And she decides to go looking, like, she gets up, goes to the other side of the table where the cat was, looks underneath there, sees Ghost Toshio. This freaks her out. She screams about it. She's like, oh my God, what is this? And then her skin starts turning black.
Oh, before that, she jumps back, and in her fright, she realizes that the entire restaurant is empty. She says, hello, and looks around. And basically what happened was the curse snatched her right there. And we see what happens when you're the victim of the curse before it fully kills you. You end up in an alternate, world where these spirits live, or like a spirit world, kind of like a Silent Hill version of the restaurant that she's in. And then her skin starts turning black.
Yep. And then we cut to a waiter going to check on her, and we see she has cooked alive.
That was horrific.
Yeah, that is just bad.
Well, she looks she hears the cat meow, and when she looks under the table, I think she actually was going to go to the side to where she could reach under and take the cat, because she's like, you don't belong in here. What are you doing in here? And the spirits use the fact that she was going to be kind to a gentle and loving cat to take her.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, man.
And as a cat lover myself, I find that appalling.
Appalling. They used her love of cats.
I'm sitting here like John Coffey crying, going, they used her love of cats.
Yeah, they used her love of cats, boss.
They used her love of cats.
God damn it. Then we cut back to Reo, and as she finishes reading, she kind of gets attacked by the Kayako ghost. She runs, and her mom finds her, and Kayoko's right there, creepy as fuck. They barricade themselves into another room, and then the mom decides that they're gonna have to fight this thing if they want to live. They get to a kitchen, the mom arms herself with a knife, but however, Kayoko's right behind her, drags her to the ground, mom dies. Reo decides to grab the knife. She's going to go kill Toshio. She says, please don't blame me for this, but we have to end it. But before she can, Kayoko's right behind her and bends her backwards, breaking her back, killing her. That's the end of that story.
That was horrific.
I think mom just had a heart attack and died, too. Because Kayoko didn't do anything other than show up behind her. I think mom literally got scared to death.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much how they took her, probably, yes.
Yeah.
But the bending backwards thing, that was fucking brutal. I don't know how
the noises were brutal.
Yeah,
God damn.
I don't know how they did that, but it was really, really well executed. There's some ropey CG in this, and there's a few things that are a bit kind of like how we got in the Ring series, where I'm like, oh my God, the fucking hair again. Where the black spot would develop and then the hair would come out of it. Or we'll see even later on some other deaths where Kayoko comes for people where it's like, that's a bit fucking ridiculous. But this death, man, was fucking brutal.
Yeah. I mean, it was bad. Jesus Christ. I mean, bad isn't good, but still.
Yeah, it was intense. Yeah. And I know that they use camera tricks and everything like that, but it was done so well that I couldn't figure it out just watching it the one time. I'd probably have to go back and go frame by frame to see where they make the change and, how they switch from the girl there being pulled backwards to what looks like a model, or not model, but a replica of her body, or a dummy of her body that has that breaking folding. Because the actual girl's face is there when she bends backwards, when they do the cut again, when she's backwards, and she reacts to it and makes some motions and some things like that. But her legs are still in the front, so they had to use some kind of camera trickery, but so well done and so fucking brutal.
Fun note on this, by this point, I actually had to go back for 30 minutes because I had missed where the Toshio story started. So I was like, God, I was all mixed up on stories. Because when I was probably doing notes, when they showed Toshio, is when the screen cut to say Toshio story, and then it went into that. So I had all that merged into that one girl's story. And I'm like, God, this is a lot for one person's story on this.
Well, and it doesn't help, too, that our direct translated subtitles didn't name some of the chapters as well. And I had to send those to you separately. So I'm glad you went back and fixed it.
Yeah. So, but that was a fun time.
Yeah. This section of the film, these like the story before Toshio and the Toshio story, this is some of the best stuff in the movie. There was a lot of bringing you into a new world with these characters that felt like it took a really long time, and they were just implying with some general creepy stuff just to keep your attention. And it just felt like standard horror movie stuff that is sort of beneath the Ju-on franchise for me. You know? It wasn't until we got to here that it really started feeling like a proper Ju-on film to me.
Yeah. So now we start with the story of Sota. Sota is Maya's boyfriend, and he visits Ryo's house. And as he's on the outside, he sees Enna looking in from the window of the hospital building. He visits her, and when trying to talk to her, she won't speak. He touches her, and he gets a flashback where I guess she has psychic abilities. And he sees her talking to Toshio, who's holding his cat. And it's Ghost Toshio. And as they talk back and forth, she exclaims that she will play with it when she's dead. So apparently she's accepting the fact she's going to die.
Well, she actually is in a children's ward in a hospital, and I believe that whatever she has is terminal. And she tells him that. She says something about how she has a few months to live. And she basically offers like, hey, once I'm gone, I will totally play with your cat, you know, when I'm a spirit as well. She's not afraid of the spirit because she knows she's about to die anyway.
Yeah. So, and he then snaps too. And he's like, well, holy shit. So he goes to the house. As he looks through, he finds Toshio in this catatonic state. He wakes him up and it breaks, and his eyes go like almost cat color for a minute and then normal. And Toshio starts choking the living piss out of him. And it looks like he's about ready to die. But then we cut to the hotel that Mai works at, and she sees Sota start walking up the stairs. Then we cut back to Sota getting back to his home, freaked out. We see flashbacks that he started choking Toshio back, appearing to kill him. He still has like red marks over his own neck.
Oh, there's blood there too. Like it looks like Toshio got some claws in that little bastard.
Yeah, he freaks out. He grabs the Keiko's journal and begins to burn it over a stove. Then we cut right back to Mai follows Soda to an elevator. As it opens, there's tons of Toshios in there screaming at her.
Stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, that was dumb.
Multiple Toshios like that. I get what they're trying to say. It's like the multiple Kayokos where the curse is spreading and there's multiple versions of him everywhere now. That's cool, but like an elevator full of screaming Toshios in their underwear, not that fucking cool.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, man. We probably don't need this in our lives.
It does not have the effect you think it did.
Yeah, right. Soda then snaps to. He wakes up and we see he did not burn the journal. He's been in a trance during the circle. He starts hearing noises, and then Keiko comes through the mail slot and crawls after him. Cut to Mai. She gets home, and she finds Soda's body very dead. Then we cut to, we see it's the next morning, and we hear Mai just talking about reincarnation. And that's the end of that story before we go into our final story.
All right, so we see him try to burn the book, and several times he's tried to throw the book away, but his would-be lover, Maya, is still finding the book and reading the book and like tracing spirals on the book.
Yeah, that's something I definitely missed. I know I missed something where he finds her staring at the book and doing the circle that he was just found, and he said they need to throw it away, and he was really freaked by it.
Well, he actually throws it away. He finds her reading the book at one point and just throws it away when she goes away because she was up all night looking at it when he gets home from his duty. And I think that was after the newspaper, no, not after the newspaper grabbed him, but after he has the run-in with Keiko is when he read the book and then threw it away, right?
That's right.
And then she's got the book later on after he threw it away, and like literally threw it away because I think he took the trash out too. The book is back and she's tracing her finger, and then he tries to throw it away. And at some point he ends up reading the book even more, and that's when we hear that Keiko is actually talking and begging God to give her a child or whatever. And like she has all these like spirit, you know, those paper tags that are like have prayers on them and stuff. They're all glued there, and I think they're prayers to God to give her a child. And there's actually a moment in there when when she actually wrote something about knowing that there is a spirit in her house of the dead child, and that she will even take that spirit into her body to become her child. Like, she voluntarily wants that, and she's actually begging some type of a god or praying to some type of a god for that as well. I mean, that stuff is all mixed into the story with this, so that's where the real density of that goes.
See, I missed that part.
Well, it's all done in subtitle, and I wanted to back up and make sure, because I was pretty sure that was something that you might not be able to catch, because they're coming at you hard and fast with those subtitles during that part when he's reading the book. And the atmosphere and the stuff is creepy enough that you don't really have to pay attention to it, but it's actually important to the story and how dense they try to get with it. And that's the true Ju-on stuff anyway, which I think would probably up your enjoyment more had we had better subtitles for this file.
Possibly, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but so once he gets back to his home and he tries to burn the book, like actually burn the book, that's at the point when he knows like the book has basically tainted him as well. And that's, with the whole strangling the body of Toshio and all of that. He tries to burn the book to try and end it because he thinks that'll take care of it too. But as we know, the curse doesn't work that way.
Yeah, right. That's just never how it goes.
Yeah. I think I got us all up to speed. I mean, it's going to be hard for a lot of folks to be able to find this. I don't even know if it's available here in the States or not. It may or it may not be. But, I just wanted to give that little piece of backstory that we kind of not necessarily glossed over, but we just weren't there because there's so much other shit going on.
There's so much happening. So, even though we've gone through this review quickly, there's a ton of visual shit and a ton of dialogue.
Yeah, it's really packed dense for an hour and a half film. Like this is like about 2 hours, 2.5 hours worth of story shoved into an hour and a half film. And it's just bursting at the seams. It really is. The reason I wanted to point it out, though, is because specifically we now know in this film that Keiko was aware that their house was cursed, was aware that it was a little boy that was there that was part of that curse, and was willing to take that little boy's spirit and give him a vessel to reincarnate in her body, just because she wanted a child so bad that she was that desperate. And I'm thinking, like, lady, couldn't you have had your husband, like, jizz in a cup and just gone the capping route, like, with a doctor?
Yeah, right? I mean, there's probably safer ways to do this.
Yeah. I mean, if he's, like, away on business all the time, you can get a bunch of samples and then actually just, really work to get the pregnancy to happen.
Yeah, right? It's like, let's just all settle down here. Come on. Everyone's going a little crazy right now.
There's a method that they've developed in the 60s that I saw in Masters of Sex that probably would have solved Keiko's problem altogether.
Well, that's a whole different show.
Well, it starts off with trying to help people conceive that are having problems being able to conceive with this special technique. All right. And the husband doesn't even need to be in the room. A doctor just applies a capful over the proper area to have the sperm get to where it needs to go. And they just basically bypass all of that and insert the cap, right where it needs to be so that it increases the chances of pregnancy. And if Keiko would have just done that procedure a few times, she probably could have solved her problem with having kids.
Yeah, but no, gotta go with the ghost route.
Right. I mean, obviously, supernatural is the quickest and easiest way to get yourself a kid and cause a curse to expand all over your nation and possibly the world, just because you're so desperate to have a child. It's the obsession factor that is driving the curse in all of these films.
Motherfucker, I tell you, Jesus Christ.
Can move on up good.
All right, Keiko. Maya then heads over to Rio's house, and as she looks through, she finds the silhouettes of Rio and her mom just creepy as fuck standing there.
They're clearly dead, right? You can tell they're dead.
You're clearly dead, but you don't get to see their faces yet, which just creeps you out constantly.
Matt and I have seen enough Italian zombie movies to know that their silhouettes are fucking rotten.
Yeah, those kids are fucking dead. All right, we all know that.
Yeah, they're clearly dead. They're most sincerely dead.
Yeah. That if you see that in any sort of a way, guess what? Congratulations, you're in a horror movie. Get the fuck out of there. Actually, if you see it, it's too fucking late to get the fuck out of there. You're just dead.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how fast you run like Josh Hawley. You're not getting out of there in time.
Yeah. You could be as fast as Josh Hawley after fist pumping a fucking
insurrectionist
traitorous crowd.
Yeah.
And you still can't get away. So then she asks if Toshio's home, and they're like, he's always home. He's home. And then Enna comes out from between them. And then the two women come into the light and they look dead and they start laughing. She falls, looks up, and she sees Toshio standing there in like hospital garb. But then she blinks and it's Enna again. And then we see Toshio comes out of Enna, the ghost of Toshio, and we see he possessed her body. Just then, Kyoko shows up and crawls after Maya, and she falls at the front door, and as she's walking, the death rattle stops. She looks down, and it's Yui holding under her leg, and she tells her that it's so painful, and she's so painful, and then she starts laughing, and then she says, Ju-on will never stop. It can never be stopped. It will always be reincarnated, and Ju-on will not end. Then hair overcomes Yui. It becomes Kyoko again. We see Toshio sitting on a counter. Maya just repeats, help me, over and over again. Cut back to Kyoko. See her face. Her mouth has been cut so her jaw can open up even more. She screams. Roll credits.
That last little bit with Kyoko's fucking mouth just popping open wide like that was really gruesome and horrific. And it looked like the jaw rip drawing that we saw earlier.
Yeah, right. It was really good.
Yeah, I don't know 100% why they made that choice other than visually it was really striking. The hair enveloping Maya and then turning into Kyoko, like the first start of that looked really lame and it was bad CG. But then they cut away to Ryo screaming and then cut back to the hair enveloping and then Kyoko's face comes out of it. And that was really effective, you know?
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah. Like I said, there's some parts of this that film that are a bit of a downer as far as, you know, closing out your series. They're not quite up to par with some of the stuff that we've already seen, but that's not necessarily saying that this is a bad movie. It's still entertaining. It's still got some really horrific stuff. It still kept my attention through most of it. Absolutely. It's super dense. There's so much story they're trying to pack into what they're doing here too.
For one of the first times, I would not have minded if they would have added at least 15 to 30 minutes onto this movie so that all the story they packed into that hour 30, maybe you won't miss, especially because of all the subtitles. It might have made it a little bit easier to follow if you gave it more time.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. But that's not usually a complaint that we ever have about a film.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I hardly ever have that complaint.
Yeah.
But
and
Jesus.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think that's a really weird place to be where you actually need a little bit more running time to be able to get all the stuff in that you're trying to get in. That it's just kind of, that's the weirdest part about this film. So it's not a disappointment. And I think if you can get your hands on it and you can see it, it's worth a watch. Absolutely. These last two films are still significantly better than White Ghost and Black Ghost. But,
way better than White Ghost and Black Ghost.
But even those that missed didn't even miss that hard. I mean, there are some major fucking failures in the Ring series that we'll talk about next week that really brought it down for a lot of those films for me. But there's really my biggest complaint about any one of these Ju-on films that we have covered thus far have been, well, it was mildly disappointing compared to how great the other ones were. And that's a faint praise to damn someone with if I don't know what is.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sorry that your really pretty decently made film is just mildly disappointing compared to this juggernaut of a franchise that was 4 films before it.
Yeah, right. It was just amazing.
Yeah. And I'm sorry that your sequel to your reboot Quill, which was super impressive to me, is mildly disappointing because you tried to pack too much in and I felt like it should have had a longer running time or been split into 2 1-hour-long movies as well.
Yeah.
You know, like it just feels weird to be complaining. Like I feel like we're just being fucking the film Twitter assholes. You know what I mean?
That's how I feel too sometimes.
With our complaints on this, because like it's just like it doesn't really matter. It's still a pretty entertaining film. And I mean, if we're going like out of 5 stars, it's still at like a 3 or 4 for entertainment value, at least for me.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It's just that it's just that the first 4 Ju-on films, The Curse 2, The Grudge, and The Grudge 2, those are all 5-star films for me. They're all super effective.
Yeah, they're the Ju-on. Those are all very super effective, really immersive. It really gets you creeped out. Yeah, that all gets you real. You get there.
Yeah. And then the Black Ghost and the White Ghost film, that's probably like a 2.5 to a 3. It's a movie. It's worth your time is all I would say. Like you won't be bored while you're watching it. You won't fucking hate it. But like at the same time, if you're going to spend the 2 hours to watch both of those movies, just go back to the first 2 Curse films and you're going to have a much more like horrifying time. You know what I mean? It's going to terrify you even more, you know? And the reboot for the beginning of the end, I mean, Jesus, that was how you do a reboot. We talked about it. We sung its praises and I'm still really enjoying it. That one's a 5-star for meets as well. Like that's what I want when I'm looking for a Ju-on film, and all the changes that they made, I'm cool with. And I think they just kind of dropped the ball because they tried to rush this one too much.
I think so. I think they wanted to get this one out, and I think they had a great idea for a story, but it just, it wasn't working out.
Yeah, and you know, that happens in sequels. How many number 2 sequels are such a fucking letdown compared to their counterpart? You know, like you can't all be Friday the 13th Part 2 where it's actually better. You can't all be Hellraiser 2 where it's actually way more intense and way cooler. You can't.
Yeah, no.
You can't.
Exactly.
You can't always be that. Sometimes you're like Prom Night 2 where it has nothing to do with the sequel as a sequel at all, but still you kind of love it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to disparage Mary Lou, you know?
Hey, nothing could be Friday the 13th 3D. All right.
Silent Madness actually was Friday the 13th 3D pretty fucking well, if I do say so myself. And actually did it better. Oh, Jesus, we're reviewing films that we already reviewed just to not talk about this movie anymore. You know what? As far as closing out the franchise, it's still a little bit of a letdown, but this is still a much more solid franchise than the fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre on par for sure. Like every single entry in the film was at least worth watching. I don't think I ever want to watch most of those Texas Chainsaw sequels again.
Yeah, no, the sequels, no. Part 2, sure, but the rest of them,
Well, I'll go up to 3, you know, and I might even be able. No, Texas Chainsaw 4 was terrible, so I can give 3, but I have nostalgia for 3. I admit that it's not good. It's a mess of a fucking movie, but the gore that's in it is at least fun, and the soundtrack is at least fun for Texas Chainsaw 3. Like this series, like I will fucking highly recommend Curse 2, Grudge, and Grudge 2 for the Ju-on Japanese films. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Of course.
I would say that you don't really need to do Black Ghost and White Ghost. You can just skip those. But if you really are a completist and you want to try and find them, they're out there on YouTube. You can.
But yeah, I agree. I would skip those. That's not something that I feel makes this story go anywhere.
Yeah, and if you're okay with the changes that they made that we described in the beginning of the end, that's definitely worth your time. And then this one, if you really just want to complete the franchise, then yeah, go ahead and watch it. But I mean, there's some moments of it that are really cool, but it's probably not going to be your bag, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's all right. You know, I don't hate that I watched it. I just kind of makes me just want to go back and watch the original 4 again, you know?
Right? No kidding.
Yeah. And the beginning of the end didn't do that. And I think that's why I'm feeling kind of dour about everything. And I'm ready to stop talking about it. Why don't we just do some fucking news and make it a short episode this week?
Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to take the break here. We're going to play some Lazy Guns Brisky, which has already started with the song Midnight Rider. And when we come back, we'll have some PSYOP news. Let Lazy Guns Brisky run just a little bit longer here, not because I was enjoying the song, but I was, just because we needed to pad out the show a little bit now.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I'm not just letting it play here in the background on the pirate radio edit while I let whatever else play on the main feed because I'm not trying to pad out the show. That's not what's happening here.
No, of course not.
And I'm not delaying saying what everyone wants me to say so that we can all get on with our lives because I'm padding out the show. That's not happening at all.
Not even a little bit. I don't even know what padding means.
See, what padding actually is when you try to make an episode like what we're doing here, just a little bit longer. So you just add in a bunch of stuff that doesn't really matter, and it doesn't really add anything to the episode. And oh my God, people are probably going nuts. Give me some PSYOP news!
Again, you get a choice. 1. How an unqualified sex worker allegedly infiltrated a top Air Force lab. Or 2. Legendary fart battles in the samurai era.
Oh man, this is a Sophie's choice, dude.
I know. Whatever we don't do this week, we'll do next week.
All right, you know what? I want to hear government incompetence. I want to know how a sex worker infiltrated the government.
Word up, this come from our man Robert out in the field.
Our man in the field, Robert.
Our main man Robert.
Incredibly long penis.
Yeah, I'm sure he does, because he's a man. So, from the Daily Beast, how an unqualified sex worker allegedly infiltrated a top Air Force lab. A senior research scientist working on advanced propulsion technologies for the U.S. Air Force duped a contractor into hiring an unqualified sex worker he had paid using a government charge card because he thought she was, and I quote, really hot, according to the feds.
I make money from my sex work.
Oh, so this is a stupid man using his privilege to make this happen. This isn't a con on her side.
Oh, man, I know. Got me. Anyway, the man then allegedly threatened to kill the sex worker's supervisor and himself when the scheme fell apart, but not before shifting the bulk of the project's funding. Not before shifting the bulk of the project's funding elsewhere to pay her salary at a different defense firm. Goddamn, he really was though taking care of her, and she. Woo! That's according to a newly unsealed search warrant application obtained by the Daily Beast, which accuses Dr. James Gord, a highly decorated civilian Air Force employee, of installing the 32-year-old sex worker on a highly technical research project, even though she did not have a college degree or any expertise in the field.
You can't pay a bail? Well, I could probably fix that for a blowy.
I don't have clips for this level of incompetence and hubris in a human being.
I know.
This is fucking ridiculous.
The woman did not fully understand how to use basic word processing software and struggled to formulate coherent inter-office emails, the warrant states.
This is outraging me because I know I work for people that are like this, that would pull this kind of shit.
Yeah, I know. In 2019, Gord tapped the woman to co-chair a scientific panel for unsuspecting photonics researchers designing turbine engines, detonation engines, scramjets, and rockets.
How do you get away with this shit? Well, clearly he didn't, but like for as long as he did, how did he get away with this shit?
No charges had yet been filed against Gord prior to his death last September of unspecified causes. The woman who's
I'm assuming.
The woman whose identity the Daily Beast is withholding has not been charged with the crime either, according to court records. She did not respond to voicemails left at a number listed under her name or to an email seeking comment on Monday.
That must be a magic fucking pussy to be able to pull this
I'm telling you right now. It's like, what do they say in Harlem Nights when Red says, he goes, you know, pussy's got to be good if it makes you change gods.
Yeah, it has to be if it makes you defraud your fucking government.
Yeah, I mean, in your entire fucking life. The warrant says Gord first came to the attention of the Air Force investigators in March 2019 after the CEO and chief research scientist of the company that provided the Air Force Research Lab in Ohio with laser imaging for turbine engines reached out with a raft of highly troubling allegations. Oh God, they have a picture of James Gord in this article? Yeah, he seems like the type of Midas.
He's
if you're looking at him, yeah, I can see it.
He's got that objectifies women and turns people into mush for his own pleasure kind of face.
No. He has the kind of face of he'll have sex with a woman once and believes that he's totally in love with her no matter what. And then we'll just break every rule and step on everybody to make sure she doesn't leave him, including, like, rob people.
Wow, I know what that face looks like. I see that in the mirror a lot.
Me too. The company, that's why I said, I get it, I know that face, because that face is me!
Well, of course I know him, he's me.
Yeah. The company, Spectral Energies, has received millions of dollars of government contracts and had been contracting for the lab located on the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base near Dayton, Ohio, for the past 17 years. Special Energy CEO Sukesh Roy and Gord, who oversaw the technology Roy's company supported and was responsible for doling out contracts funding, had become good friends during that period, according to the warrant. But Roy had become alarmed by Gord's behavior and contacted the Air Force of Special Investigations, saying Gord was engaging in unethical government contract negotiations, had communicated threats of violence, and was regularly soliciting prostitution while on the installation and while traveling on the official U.S. Air Force business, the warrant states. In 2017, Gord, whose research the Air Force says has produced a myriad of fundamental technology breakthroughs in burst mode laser measurement systems that enable scientists and engineers to better understand the performance of real-world air-breathing and rocket engines, lost his father to suicide and experienced extreme depression as a result, the warrant explains. Shortly thereafter, in October 2017, Roy shared with Gord he was looking to hire an administrative technician at Spectral Energies. Gord recently met a young professional while on a flight to Washington, D.C., was very impressed with how she presented herself. That's what, Gord said. Gord told Roy that he thought she would be a good fit for Spectral and gave Roy a copy of her resume. The warrant says it said she was a certified EMT and firefighter with a biochemistry degree from the University of Tennessee and had attended medical school at the University of Cincinnati. Of course, all lie. Gord highly encouraged Roy to hire her, speaking highly of her technical expertise. He then finished by stating she's also really hot. That's probably not great. Roy hired her the following month on Gord's recommendation. So there you go. That's how you get involved.
I am so fucking livid at how this all took place. Like you have to laugh at it. It's just so ridiculous. Right? Like the level of hubris this man had to do this.
Here we go. However, Roy quickly became frustrated with her lack of capability in the position. Over her first few months on the job, Roy stated, she was not timely with her expenses, did not fully understand how to use basic word processing and document creation software, and struggled to formulate coherent inter-office emails, the warrant goes on. She also failed to provide her college transcripts as requested. Roy then confronted Gord, who came clean and disclosed that she was a prostitute he met in Cincinnati. Gord allegedly told Roy that he kept an Excel spreadsheet on his government-issued laptop with the names and details of various sex workers around the country he saw while on official trips for the Air Force.
Dude has a spreadsheet of favorite sex workers.
He didn't want his wife or kids to know about his relationships with these women and took out cash advances against his government travel card so that the family finances were not visibly affected, the warrant states.
Wow, this guy, oh my gosh. He had to have taken his own life just to not have to deal with the repercussions of his actions.
Right. Yet Gord, who allegedly told Roy he paid the woman $400 an hour for her services, claimed to be in love with her and said she felt the same about him. Still, the woman engaged in acts of prostitution around Wright-Patterson with other scientists from the Air Force Research Laboratory, the warrant says. One identified in the filing only as Dr. I.K. paid the woman approximately $20,000 a year to clean his residence in the nude and then perform oral sex on him. Jesus Christ.
Okay. Hang on a second. This is the plot of the Arrested Development whenever Jason Bateman hires Justine Bateman.
Yeah.
to try and get the company running and work its finances better, and she just ends up fucking everybody. You remember that?
Yeah, right? It's just, Jesus Christ.
But Jason Bateman's character in that had no clue. Michael Bluth had no clue that that's what he was doing, right? This is a guy who literally knew what he was doing and probably just got her onto the payroll, and then she used that as leverage to be able to basically make more money off of all of these other guys. So more power to her, you know?
Yeah, I mean, good on her. I mean, you know what? If I was her, though, I'd start using to learn how to use Microsoft Word. I'm just saying, just some basic stuff. Take a class.
The guy clearly has some kind of a sex addiction or some kind of an issue if he has a spreadsheet of known sex workers that he favors and how to contact
Sounds like
them.
His father's death, I think, triggered something on him.
That's a possibility, but Jesus, man, just the level of fuck-offery that is going on here.
Yeah, right? Holy fuck.
This is insane.
Good times.
Yeah. Well, we haven't quite hit an hour and a half, but whatever. We'll just fucking do it. It's fine. I'll try and pad out the episode some other way. Going to play the Ending Legion show promo here, and then we're going to come back and close out the show with Cynthia. Kiss, kiss, kiss.
If you enjoyed this show, then make sure you check out the other great shows on the Legion Podcast Network, like Cinema Psyops, Cinema Beef, Devour the Podcast, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, Friday the 13th, Get Slayed, The Helming Power Hour, Hello, This is the Doom Show, Hero Hero Go Show, Kill the Cast, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, Jerry Hates Action, Legion After Dark, Mental Health, Obsessive Cinema, Discourse, Pick Six Movies, the podcast by The Cemetery, the podcast on Haunted Hill, the Psychosemantic Podcast, Rick Radio, House of Wax, Dude Looks Like the 80s, Rabbit and Red Radio, the Shadecast, Short Bus Cinema, Two Drink Minimum Commentaries, the VD Clinic, Who Will Survive Horror Podcast, and Witch vs. the Doomsday Clock. With such a wide spread of shows, there is guaranteed to be a niche for you to fall in love with. Horror, politics, movies, books, sex, music, commentaries, health, video games, kaiju, action, news, comedy, and opinions that would most likely get you killed in some parts of the world. We are proud to bring you some of the best podcasting in the world. Check us out at www.legionpodcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and any other dark corner of the internet where podcasts can be found.
Discord chat. Not a huge amount of folks there right now, but what is there is a lot of fun, and it's just folks talking movies, the stuff that they're watching, what's going on with their lives and general stuff like that. And so far we have no trolls, and it's actually been pretty great. And as far as social media goes, this Legion Discord chat is the way that I'm going lately. I've been kind of hanging out there more than anywhere.
Nice.
If you'd like to find out, the invite link is going to be in the show notes from here on out, so just check out the show notes wherever you're listening to it at. There's going to be a link there, and that'll get you into the Legion Discord chat. You may have to create a Discord account, but it's real easy to fucking do, and they have an app on the phone that makes it real fun to use.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
Yeah, well, there's some Luddites out there that don't do that kind of stuff, so, it might be kind of hard for them.
Nah, they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
If you'd like to find some other places to connect with the show, the easiest place to find us is Instagram, cinema_psyops, because that's our meme repository. You don't even have to deal with me, because I don't really respond much there. I just post the memes and move on. And you don't have to deal with anybody else. You just go there for the memes.
Yeah, what?
In Instagram, cinema_psyops. That's all.
All the memes, just great memes.
There's also our Facebook group, Cinema Psyops, where I will then post the memes there, and then there's the main page of Cinema Psyops that the memes get posted to, and then shared all over Facebook by my main profile of Court Psyops.
Yeah, all the main psyops. All the main psyops over there.
Matt just wants to get this over with and be done. So listen, you can just email me feedback, cinemapsyopscourt@gmail.com, which somebody out there has been signing me up for all sorts of stuff that I've been complaining about and making fun of. So somebody's trolling me using my cinemapsyopscourt@gmail.com email. Someone tried to sign up to Reddit using my email, like as fucking joke. I swear to God, that happened.
Really?
Yeah, I had to click on it where I'm like, no, I did not make this happen.
I did not do that.
Yeah, I just like, no, not authorized. So yeah, whatever. That's fucking crazy. So while you're out there trying to use my email to make a Reddit account, you fucking asshole, kick the fuck out of this weekend and get your Hey, why don't we start recording on your side and we'll get this rolling.
All right.
And I'm watching my counter tick up and I'm going to walk away from it.
There we go. We're good.
All right. Jesus fucking Christ. This is the next to the last one, man.
Yeah. Finally.
Yeah. And I got a theme song to finish, man. No pressure on me.
No pressure.
All right. Fuck it. Let's just go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Welcome to the 330, 53rd, 63rd, 73rd. I don't know the fucking number of the show. Give me a second.
Stop doing math. Fucking nerd.
Freakiest part of the movie so far.
So far.
Just like the hottest summer on record
so
far.
Oh, Jesus.
You have to laugh at the fact that the world is collapsing around us and there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, can hurry the fuck up because I'm working 2 jobs then for no reason.
Wow. That's hilarious and terrifying all at once at its accuracy.
Right?
They have that here, too, depending upon the karaoke bar. There's actually a karaoke bar in Omaha that's like that.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I fucking detest karaoke, but I've been to that karaoke bar because somebody's birthday was happening and they wanted to celebrate. I sat out at the bar drinking soda while everybody else was back in their private room singing karaoke.
I would be like, I'm not going to that birthday party. I'm surprised you even went. Those people must have been important to you.
They were important to my wife. She demanded a designated driver. I said, I'll sit out here. You go have fun.
Yeah, there you go. That's your best bet.
I love my wife enough to make sure that she can go have fun and be safe at a place that I absolutely detest.
You're a good person.
How dare you, sir?
How dare you?
How dare you defame my bad name?
I can't believe that wasn't in your own wedding vows. I will go to a place I detest for you.
It might as well have been.
Right? So anyway, then after everything got done, God fucking Jesus Christ. Thank you, Matt. So anyway.
There trying to use my email to make a Reddit account, you fucking asshole. Kick the fuck out of this weekend, make it your bitch.
Now I'm gonna go set up an entire 3rd floor with monitors and shit. So I'm done.